car in front of me.
Hi there, it's Bike Touring Mike here, and this is the final day of my bike tour here in Italy. And if everything goes to plan, I'll make it to Rome maybe in the afternoon today. I'm starting out right now in a town called Anguillara Sabazia, which is about 40 kilometers north of Rome. And I'm right on the boardwalk eating my breakfast now. And as soon as I'm finishing up with my breakfast, I'm gonna hit the road and start toward Rome. And I'm looking forward to a spectacular day, since I know Rome has a lot of nice things to see once I get there. So follow along for the journey, and I'll see you out on the road. So we just made it to Rome, and while getting in here was a bit tricky. Once you're in Rome, there's a nice cycle path that follows along the river Tiber. It's pretty easy to get around in Rome on a bike. So now I'm just gonna follow this until the first stop, which is the Vatican.
See the police car in front of me?
So yes, I'm 0 for 2 right now. I just got stopped over by the kind police officer back there who told me that I wasn't allowed to ride my bike in the Vatican, obviously. And then maybe 10 seconds later, the same policeman told me that tripods weren't allowed either in the Vatican. To be able to film this, I had to be a little inventive, so I just put the camera on one of these statues here. So I've actually been into the St. Peter's Church once before, about 3 years ago or so, and it was well worth the visit. However, I remember the lines were crazy outside. It's a bit of a slower day today, but I'm still not gonna go in because what to do with the bike, right? So I'm just gonna stand here for a while admiring the buildings around me, and then hit the road and go to the next stop, which should be the Spanish Steps. So now I made my way over to the Pantheon, and this is the best preserved building in all of Rome. Built back in the beginning of the 2nd century, it was used back then as a temple of all gods. But since the beginning of the 7th century, it has been used mainly as a church.
Madonna, meno male che ho fatto i capelli.
Now I made it to Fontana di Trevi, where Swedish actress Anita Ekberg took a dive in the movie La Dolce Vita by Fellini back in the 60s. All those sights set aside, this is probably my favorite place here in Rome. This is Villa Borghese, sort of like Rome's own Central Park, or vice versa. I'm guessing this was probably built before Central Park. This is a great place to just walk around, ride your bike, or take your family to a picnic on a nice day like this. And I'm about to end my sightseeing tour here in Rome, right outside of the Colosseum. Now we're gonna make about 20 kilometers or so to the campground. And the campground is located right in the middle between the city center of Rome and the airport. I'll make the rest of the way in the morning. I'm probably looking at leaving the campground at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So I made it to the campground, and I even got a chance to try out their pool area because the pool closed at 6, and for once I was here at 5:30, so even maybe just for 5 minutes I had a chance to try out their pool. But I still gotta take a proper shower. I just wanna set up my tent first here. Me and the family actually stayed at this very same campground about 4 years ago, and I think we had maybe this spot or perhaps the spot right next to us here. There are maybe just 10 spots for tents. There aren't that many to choose from. But I chose this campground because it's fairly close to the airport. It's about 15 kilometers left. I'm heading over there tomorrow morning. I think the plane is leaving at about 10 in the morning, so I'm setting my alarm for about 5 a.m. I'm calculating with about an hour, maybe hour 15 minutes to get over there, and then I probably need about an hour to wrap everything and fix the bike inside of my CTC plastic bike bag that I'm using for transport back home. So the plan now is to set up camp as usual and then take a shower and lastly enjoy a nice bit of meal and maybe a glass of wine too, to celebrate that this tour is in the books. I think one of the great things about going on these types of trips yourself is that you have some time to reflect over things. And when visiting these things today, especially going to the park, Villa Borghese, and seeing kids playing around where my kids played around 4 years ago, you realize that even though going on these trips for about 1 to 2 weeks is a lot of fun, the most important thing in life is your family. So with that said, I can't wait to get home tomorrow and see my kids and my wife again. They really mean a lot to me. I'm really thankful and blessed that I'm able to go on these trips, and Malin, my wife, takes care of everything back home. So for those of you who are able to go away and maybe leave your family for 1 week or so, make sure to thank those who love you back at home. Those are the ones that matter the most. So I'm standing here trying to summarize this whole trip. This trip has probably been one of the toughest that I've done, but also one of the most rewarding. I've gotten to see fantastic sights along the way. Probably the best couple of days were those days after I left Siena, when I went out on Cretsenesi and Valdorcia. Those I really enjoyed the most. And the evening I had in Siena was also on top of my list. And I really hope that you've had a good time following along on this journey as well. And if you might have missed an episode or two, you can click this link up here and you will take into a playlist with all of the videos in this series. Otherwise, until next time, have a good one.